All right. Good morning, everybody's. This is one of the Jonathans with the Balloon Guild, and I am here with Miss Alissa Lane, who is our guest designer for the month of September. And we're very excited to have you. Miss Alissa, I will tell you first, I have a daughter named Alissa, and I love nicknames. So I already have like Alyssa-based nicknames in my brain. So if I throw some out, just roll with it or tell me I prefer Alissa or whatever for yourself.
I'm ready for all of them. So
Okay.
when I was, since I am like an Alyssa with an I because I'm an old Alyssa, since I'm a Gen X Alyssa, I actually didn't meet another Alyssa until I was in my 20s. So
Okay.
I think that it's awesome that you have a daughter named Alyssa.
Yeah, it's a great name. Okay, so first of all, deepest, darkest secret. Um, how long have you been doing balloons for?
So I'm actually coming up on 15 years of doing balloons, and I've had my own business for 11 years. So it's been great.
So you worked for somebody else as a decorator.
Yeah, so actually when I started with one of my neighbors, Amy Cullen from who was with It's My
Oh
Party.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I started with Amy. She was actually one of my neighbors. We started as more partners, and then things it's just like we have a really great relationship now. She actually, I will say this for her, she's actually getting published for her first children's book. So I just talked to her
Awesome.
this week. She contacted me
That
about
is
headshots. So yeah, and then we ended up going our own separate directions for a few different reasons. And that was about 11 years ago, and been doing it as Party Lane since then.
yeah, right on. Well, and I like the name. It's a fun little, has your name in it, but it's not balloons of Chicago or whatever. So what city do you work the most? Like where do you live? I know you're in the Chicago area, right?
Mm-hmm. So we're about an hour from the loop of Chicago, which is what most people think about. Chicago's a really large area in terms of how the expanse is because we're only 15 minutes from the border of Chicago. So,
Okay.
but we are a mile over Indiana. So we're right in Northwest Indiana. We mostly service Northwest Indiana and the south suburbs of Chicago. We do service the loop and some on the north side if they meet our minimums to go up that way.
Okay. All right, cool. So what got you started doing balloons?
Um, Honestly, necessity.
Okay.
So I had always been an artistic person, and I was actually selling real estate. And then we had the mortgage crisis. That's how I know exactly when I started. And, that happened in November of 2009. At the time, I was selling, but nothing was closing. And I needed to pivot. I was actually neighbors with Amy, and she had just opened up a retail store. And because we were going into a recession that wasn't doing well, and we need to figure out things in order to just like keep that business afloat, and I need to find out how to make money. And I think that between the two of us, since we just picked it up really quickly, so then I just continued to go in that direction. But I had always been a person, I'm obviously on the ADD spectrum, like so many of us.
Join the club.
And, we do. So I've always done really well at in jobs where I have short-term goals and immediate gratification. And I also like to work with my hands and have constantly, changing environments. So it just was a really natural fit to me. So I loved it from the minute that I started and just naturally gravitated towards it.
So because she was your neighbor, you said you were neighbors with her, right?
Yeah, we were neighbors. We lived a few houses down from each other.
Okay. So you were in real estate, and I'm just recapping. My brain is trying to focus a bit better right now. So you were in real estate, and
Mhm.
then during the recession, you went to work in a balloon store that just opened.
So she wasn't actually a balloon store yet. She was just a like a party store. We started doing balloons out of
Okay.
necessity to increase like additional business. And then I, at the time, started, like, I also started doing face painting and other just artistic things.
Okay.
I was able to pick up balloon twisting pretty quickly too. I just had a knack for it. So, and I think that I'm naturally a yes person.
Hmm.
So when people ask me for things, I would say yes and then figure it out later, which
Right.
I still do that
So,
quite a bit in my business.
Bill, you went to a party store when we were all being told not to have parties, right?
Yes.
Is that where?
Well, no,
Okay.
it was in 2009. So people were being told,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Okay. So not the COVID. You just, never mind.
yeah.
Uh, you said 11, 15 years ago. We're not talking COVID stuff. Okay. Erase everything I just said.
You're all
Um,
good.
okay. So were you artistic growing up? Like, have you always been artistic in nature?
Extremely. So
Okay.
I always took art classes and loved to craft and just make things. Love to cook, love to paint, love to. It's if I could build things, if I could do it with my hands, then I was doing it. Except for
Okay.
Legos. I had this talk with someone else. I never put it together a Lego set in my life. So, but
Really?
yeah,
See, I like to put together the set with the instructions.
yeah,
And my kid, oh my gosh, thousands of dollars probably in Lego
yeah.
that you put together, and then he would take them apart. And I'm like, dude, you have a cool toy, but now all you have is a big pile of bricks. And he wouldn't really, I don't know. I don't understand it, but that was his thing. So what
Yeah,
was
but
your favorite medium? Like, I used to draw on every scrap piece of paper in the world. What did you?
I still do. I'm a big doodler. I love to draw. I used to just draw for hours, like hours and hours on end. And I would it's funny because you could see, like, looking back, how you could see a thorough line in some of our
Yeah,
habits.
yeah,
And what I would do is I would draw the same thing over and over and keep on trying to improve it.
sure.
And that's something that I absolutely have found that I do now in my craft as well.
So what took you to real estate?
Um, do you know, when I started real estate, it was because I had two small children. I was actually going through a really terrible divorce, and I didn't want to do, well, I already knew that a 9 to 5 job didn't fit me. It's just never been a good fit for me. My degree is in athletic training, random,
Okay.
but so my degrees in athletic training, I used to teach classes. Like, I taught exercise classes, mommy and me exercise, infant massage, different things. And I did that when I lived in Illinois. When I moved to Indiana, they didn't value that as much. So they, like, wanted to pay me $8 an hour instead of the 25 an hour that I was making working in Illinois doing the same thing.
Right.
And I just had to find something that was going to provide a good income where I was going to have more flexibility to be home with my kids at that time. And so that's how I ended up going into real estate. Um, the thing that's most interesting about it is I feel like all of the training that I received from real estate has been really beneficial to my balloon business because I learned how to close, learned how to sell, just all of the skills, lead follow up, lead management, how to build business. Like, all of those are skills that I was able to take into this business that probably helped me to become more successful.
Okay. So let's talk about your business for a little bit.
Okay.
What is Party Lane like from your perspective? Like, do you work with employees? Do you work from home? What is all that stuff like for you?
I do have staff members. So I have two full-time staff members, and one of them works with me on inflation and installs. One of them is in the office on sales. And then I also have at will people that help me, like part-time people that help as needed. So,
Sure.
and that depends upon how many people, depends upon what time of year it is. So because we're busiest over the summer, so I do have more assistants over the summer, and I have, like, a nice group of college students that do come home. They help over the summer, and then they leave again at the end of the year. But right now I am trying to hire for one more inflator just because we are still a little bit too busy. Like I'm working way too many hours.
Sure. So are you, like you said, you bring college students on during the summer? Are you guys busy during the summer too?
So we are extremely busy in May and June. And
Right.
then our July kind of slacks off a little bit. But that way, Shanna and my other full-time people, they like to take a little bit of vacation time, and I like to take a little bit of vacation time.
Sure.
So then we use the time that they're here to be able to take some time off.
Okay. So, do you work out of a shop? Do you work out of your house?
So I work out of it's a 2,000 square foot warehouse. And then I only have a partial build out of about 1,100 square feet. I actually just got a quote to build it out further. We did loft the area where we have our build out so that we didn't lose any storage. And it's just like we do need to expand the space. Like when we first built it out, it was a great space for us to be able to work in, and now it's just not even close to enough room. But depending upon how warm it is, as long as it's not 100 degrees, we do bag things and we can move them out into the main area as well. So that way we don't try to do that with anything that's indoor decor, but if it's going to be outdoor decor, then we feel comfortable where we, build it, bag it, and then just store it in like one of the cooler spaces of the warehouse that's not built out.
Okay. Well, cool. And when you started, so you worked for 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when you got out on your own, did
Mm-hmm.
you, like you were used to working in a store, did
Yeah.
you go straight to the warehouse? Did you?
No, I actually moved into a warehouse. I signed my lease in January of 2020
Okay.
for the warehouse, and it ended up being good timing for it. I do work with another company where I still have a pickup location. So, but honestly, our business has changed so much that we really aren't even doing many pickups anymore, just because we've been too busy to schedule them. So we're like, just forget it. Like over the summer, it's great for grad parties, but right
Right.
now we're not even really offering pickup options. Um, the reason that I still had that is because my warehouse is extremely industrial for the area that it's in. Like I
Okay.
have, which has its pros and cons. So, sorry, I feel like I'm all over the place, but no, I did actually start in a retail store. So like I moved into a shop as well, and
Okay.
that did work out great at first, but since we were doing more, as we were doing more deliveries, it didn't make sense in order for me to have to staff it for somebody to sit there while I was out doing deliveries. So
Right.
that's why I decided I was going to switch to a warehouse model. Doing that grew our business a lot. Like I was afraid that we would take a hit because we weren't going to have the street presence. And we did have some people who thought that maybe we closed, but that's why we tried to stay really active on social media. So that way they could see that we're still posting things all of the time. So they knew that we were, not closed. We were just moved and changed our business model.
Right.
And so it's moving into the warehouse. I always feel like we grow into our businesses every time that we take a step.
Yeah.
Like, you move into a bigger warehouse, then next thing you know, you need a bigger warehouse. You get another van and you're filling that van. So, and that absolutely happened with moving here as well.
Yeah.
And then the things that I don't like about it is where I am, it is very industrial. So I'm like on the back side of a building. You come in here and you have to drive around the back and then around the other side, and I'm on that side. I love that I have the garage doors. I am on a gravel road. I'm between a semi truck repair man who maintains our entire fleet. So that's fantastic. I'm like, I need an oil change. This stopped working, and they check it, and I don't even have to take my car anywhere.
Right.
So those parts, like I have a welder like right next to me. So we're, able to do welding. There's someone who does construction. So he gave me a quote on building out our warehouse a little bit further so that we could have more work room. So we have fantastic business neighbors that also have helped me with running my business, which is really nice. But again, we just don't have the street presence, which would be the negative.
Yeah. So what do? You had mentioned social media. Is that how you mainly grew your business? Was through social media and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. And we really don't have that big of a social media following. We only have like 2,500 people on Facebook and 2,000 people on Instagram. But almost everyone who follows us is one of our customers. And we also have people who find us from tagging venues, and they look at our pictures and then they'll contact us. My biggest way to grow my business has been word of mouth referrals and vendor partnerships. Like I have a lot of really good relationships with the event managers that are near us.
Okay. I'm taking notes, like I said. Okay. Cool. So what do you like doing for your business the most? Like if you could just pick your own job and this is all I really want to do, everybody else can take care of the rest, what would you do?
So I think that's my biggest downfall is I love installing. So
Okay.
I love doing the work. I just,
And why do you say downfall? Like, why do you think that's a downfall?
because then I have to work in my business.
Right. But
So
if you're
so
choosing to do that,
I know,
right?
but it just makes it hard because I work way too many hours and it's really hard. Like I have other people who work for me, but I'm not as duplicatable. Like, classic decor is duplicatable,
Right.
but
Right.
I
Right.
love to design and I love to do custom things and I love to do bespoke options. And my customers all love me for that. But
Mm-hmm.
it also is not as duplicatable. So I am trying to
Yeah.
do more classic and do more duplicatable things because it's my downfall because I work like sometimes 80 to 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I started
so
at 10.
you're working as an artist. That's the way I like to phrase it is
Yeah.
you're a balloon artist selling
Mhm.
decor pieces
Yeah.
that a lot of times are art. And an
Mhm.
artist can't just, unless you're designing color by number stuff, you're
Yeah.
creating a new piece every time. That is hard to duplicate.
Yeah. But the thing is I keep on doing it because I really do love it. Like
Yeah.
I get so excited about it. I get so excited when I'm creating something that I haven't made before. I love a challenge. I love that my customers they trust me enough to that I could say, ooh, I know exactly what I want to do. I've never
Yeah.
made this before, but let's do it because I know I can. And they trust me and then I figure it out.
Yeah.
So I love to be able to challenge myself like that. I love to use that part of my brain. And I love seeing the reaction when we pull it off.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. There's nothing wrong with that, but it does make me, so for me, it's one of my, I don't know how to say it. It's like one of the things that I think about the most is
Mhm.
what is my overall plan for my business? Like, what
Mhm.
direction am I trying to head? And I kind of was like you at the beginning, where it's like, I can make all this cool stuff. That's all I want to do. And then I realized that I have to be the one to do it all because nobody else can do it. Um, so then I started realizing I actually like business more than I like the art side of it
Mhm.
necessarily. So I try to find a good balance. But what is your like do you have a plan for your business for the future? Like are you going to keep like what's your plan overall? Is that might be a big question.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that all the time. I am pivoting a little bit more back to classic. So I also feel like just in terms of trends that classic is making a comeback in terms of decor, just
But
because people are starting to like the clean lines and the clean look of it after seeing so much organic work over the past few years. So I have noticed that my customers are trending towards that. And we are trying to push that a little bit more so that I could step back. Um, I really do enjoy teaching. I would love to do more of that. So
okay.
just because that is like, yeah, I'm really excited for the class next week because I love to teach people. Like we've always done. I love to teach my staff. I love to teach people in the community. I love to work with other artists who have contacted me. That gives me a lot of fulfillment. I don't know. I sometimes also think that I might just scale back and do some more, just like balloon twisting and face painting in my retirement years, and then let
Sure.
people run with doing some classic decor as well. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm always curious. Like, there's no, like, you can't tell somebody else how to run their business.
mhm.
So if you want to be an artist and then just shut up shop at the end of it, that's fine. I've bought several businesses and I
Mhm.
always wonder, like, why didn't you want to grow it the way that I did? And I realize sometimes it's just because people never really thought about it until it was too
Yeah.
late. And not that everybody needs to grow their business like me. Like I said, so I just like to hear I like to know you have a plan. You're an artist, but you're also a businesswoman who's making a plan for your future, and it's all going to be fine because you have a plan and a roadmap.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not afraid to pivot. Like, I think that
Right.
actually being able to pivot has been one of the main things that's led to my success, because if you get stuck doing one thing and if you're like, this is how I'm going to do it, then when the market changes or there's a shift, then you're going to keep on doing that thing until you're out of business. So
Yeah.
you need to be able to look ahead, detect trends, and even just think about where am I going to be in 5 years? So, because I do notice that that's why I say that it's my downfall, is because I know that's the part that I love the best, but I know that it's like, in order for me to be able to step back, which I'm getting to the point where I want to start to step back a little bit,
Right.
that because I'm getting tired. I'm over 50, I'm just starting to get tired. And I can't work, 12-hour days, 10 days a week. So yeah, I know there's only 7 days, but it feels like 10 sometimes, right? Because
Yeah.
we're like, I don't know, why
Yeah.
am I doing 3 days of work in one day? um,
Yeah.
but so I realized, and that's why I'm trying to make some of those changes. And honestly, that's why I love the Balloon Guild, is because you have so many of those recipes that it does make things more duplicatable for my staff. So as I want to go into that direction, I am able to like better train my team and teach my team using those resources so that
Right.
I could be more successful and also be a little bit more hands off.
Yeah. I would say for some recipes, that's kind of like the biggest challenge is
Mm-hmm.
how can I take something that looks like a work of art and teach somebody else to do it as though it's color by number, even though it's
Yeah.
not color by number, but as close as I can make reproducing it to that,
Mm-hmm.
the better. And
Mm-hmm.
some things are a lot harder than others. I
Yeah.
have like probably 3 recipes for people, like sports people, because I make them for one of our local colleges.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all easy until you get to their head. And then it's
Yeah.
like, how do I explain how to put hair? I don't know. So
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
working through some of those ideas, but okay, so let's shift to your family situation. Are you married? You got children's?
So I am married. I chose much better the second time around.
All right, it's good to hear.
Um, yeah, and I think that it's hard to be a spouse to someone in this industry. It really is, because he's great in terms of just being supportive, understanding my long hours, coming with me on strikes. So my husband did work with me at first, and we found that that was not a good fit for us. Anybody who could work directly with a spouse all of the time, I think that that's fantastic. We probably still would not be married. um, but he'll get the garbage and he'll come with on strikes, and he'll drive when I have something far away, like if it's at night. And again, like, getting rid of late night strikes is one of the things that I've had trouble with, because finding reliable people who will show up, who will work the late hours, even with money incentives, has been hard. I do have somebody who we actually have starting next week that's going to help with that some more again. So I always go through people, and we end up, it works out for a while, and then there's like a month that we
Yeah.
don't have anybody as we try to find someone else. So we do too much of it. Um, I have 2 kids. They're 25 and 27. My daughter is 25, and she is my salesperson. So
Okay.
that works really great. I love working with her. she does work from home, and it's hard for her to work from home because she doesn't have coworkers. So that part is a
Right.
challenge for her. So I always know that it's probably more of a, like, there's going to be a day when she's like, I need to be out of my house.
Is she
That's fine.
local? Is she local still?
So she lives in Chicago. So
Okay.
yeah. And
But it doesn't make sense for her to drive all the way to where you're at 5 days
mm,
a week and work from your
no,
workshop.
it doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense at all. Especially her job is 100% on the computer. She does come with sometimes and help on installs when we need extra hands, especially when I need
Right.
extra hands in the city. And her boyfriend will also come help out sometimes then too. And then I also have two stepkids, and one of them, he helps me on and off. Like right now, he's back to working for us, and he's delivery help, muscle, and strike. So is what he's doing right now. But he
Okay.
doesn't inflate.
And are they out of the house as well, or
So he is in the house. So
okay?
he's not motivated to leave the house. His life
All
is
right.
too comfortable in the house, if you ask me.
It's all good. I have a roommate in that similar situation. We've
Yeah, it's
yeah.
yeah. Sometimes it's a
Okay.
challenge. You raise them all the same
Sure.
and they don't all turn out the same.
So did you have them working for you when they were smaller? Like, I mean, 11 years ago, they would have been teenagers still, right? So,
Yeah, they did work for me when they were younger. They also like have balloon twisted a little bit, all of them. Like, so we still do some services. We do balloon twisting and face painting as our offerings.
okay.
I train and we offer a junior team. So it's like I don't go out that often for balloon twisting anymore. I'm by no means an expert. I consider myself to be intermediate. Um, but for what you're doing for line work, we do a lot of line
Sure.
work is
Yeah.
what we do. And I sell them as a junior team, and they just have like their 10 things that they know. And as soon as they know those 10 things, the people know you're getting someone from our junior team. They could do these 10 things and that's it. And that's what they
Sure.
do. And it works out fine. So
Yeah. Okay. That's a smart idea. I booked entertainers for a long time and I've never thought of like trying to distinguish. We had two different price rates depending on where the entertainer's level was,
mhm,
because there's just some people who are in a different ballpark altogether. But
exactly.
I haven't thought of like, what do I do with a brand new person who happens to get himself a job
Hmm.
twisting balloons at a birthday party? I didn't feel right charging the normal amount that I would for everybody else, but
Hmm.
I didn't have a different rate for them, so they just got paid, I guess. Um,
Yeah. And that's what we
okay,
do. They don't get paid as much and we don't charge as much, and they know that
sure,
they're doing it. We do that a lot for like school fun fairs and other types of events like that, like back to school fun fairs, or just line work events where they know that they're going to have 100 people come through in 3 hours. So they want just quick designs that are one balloon designs, and that's all that they're doing, and they can knock out 25 to 30 of them in that amount of time, and it
yeah,
works out great for them. So I think that as
sure,
long as the client knows what the expectation is, so
yeah,
then we're being able to meet it, that it's okay.
for sure. Okay, so what makes your business different than everybody else's?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Um,
Or what do you think? Like, what do you take the most pride in? And I think you've already maybe answered it a little bit,
yeah,
but
I just think that it's like, I feel like it's just, I mean, I feel weird saying this, but I feel like it's just me. Like, I'm what makes my business unique.
right,
That
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
just that they're like getting that peek inside of my brain, which doesn't always function like, because I am the epitome of artist brain.
Right.
So,
So on your to that end, I've heard people talk about before, like you are the brand of your company.
mhm.
Do you, with your social media posts and all that, are you very present in a lot of your marketing?
No, because I hate it.
Uh,
I'm I'm trying to do better with getting my face out there, because I always get such positive feedback when I do. But I think Um, yeah, I just never feel that comfortable. I'm trying
Right,
to work on being more comfortable in front of a camera. I'm very comfortable face to face, but
right.
well, I'm comfortable one on one, or else I'm comfortable like in a teaching position because I don't know. I just kind of like
You have
I
something
figured
else
that
to focus on.
yeah, so I'm not really thinking about it. But I do. The camera makes me nervous, and I think it's just because I don't know. I just don't know how to act in front of a camera. So I always end up going into ham. I'm like,
Yeah, so I heard, and I kind of am the same way, but I
yeah.
feel like I'm crawling out of that a little bit over the
Hmm.
past year or so. And couple things that helped me a lot. One of them might not be as good for you, but the guys like just know your first 100 videos are going to suck. So just go ahead and get them out of the way. Just do it. You know they're going to suck. Why would you expect to be good at something that you never really do? So just do it, get it done. And then the second thing, and for me, I'm like, that's true. Why would I expect to come out of the box like hitting home runs when I've never really done camera work at all or whatever? And then the second one was he's like, and the worry is you're worried about people seeing you fail. You're not worried about the failure, you're worried about people seeing it happen. And he's
Hmm.
like, but if you're just getting started in social media, nobody's paying attention to you anyways. So
There you
there's
go.
nobody to see it happen. In that case, you already said you do have some followers. And I think maybe that second one wouldn't apply quite as much, but I mean, people are people. I think we worry about the longevity of looking like an idiot way longer than people actually hold on to that stuff.
Yeah. So my problem is more that I'm not afraid of looking like an idiot.
Oh, there you go.
Because I just like when I get anxious, I just default to being goofy.
Do you get to do the dad stuff? Like, is that who you are to your kids? Like, you just get to embarrass them around others? Do you
I mean,
take that role in your family?
I mean, I think that they would say that I embarrass myself, not them,
Really? Okay. I like
but
to
yeah,
embarrass my kids.
but
So,
yeah, I would attempt to embarrass, them and instead be embarrassing myself. I would always be like, "Mommy loves you," and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we know." But well, what I'm trying to, I think that it's because I've always struggled with perfectionism my entire life. Like that's been something that's hard for me. And I know done is perfect, right? We all know done is perfect. Um, but it's something that I've always struggled with. And so that's where I think that with being in front of the camera at first, I used to be like, oh, well, do another take. I flubbed over that word or I didn't sound. But what I've come to realize, so which is making it easier for me, is that I'm attracted to people who are more authentic. Like I
right,
don't want to watch someone who's being perfect and who's going off of a script and who has rehearsed what they're going to say. I want to hear people's real reactions and I want to talk to someone who I feel like I'm actually connecting with and who is actually invested in the conversation, not that they're just, giving me the rote interview of this is what we're going to say.
right,
So I think that that part has just helped me as the adjusting my expectations of what it is and just being like, okay, it doesn't matter. Like
right.
it doesn't matter. And just like not being afraid to say, I don't know. Like, what's the answer? I don't know. I don't know. And it's just being able to try to figure that out and think about it and just being, yeah, just true and authentic. And I
Yeah,
think that that's helpful.
right on. So, I'm gonna shift gears again. You mentioned a class earlier, so I would assume everybody on here knows, but I'm excited that you are teaching an actual class for us. I think it's September 24th. I don't have the notes right in front of
Yeah,
me.
next
And
week, Tuesday.
Tuesday, September 24th, and Having a Party is helping to sponsor this.
Hmm.
And they are providing you with some big A balloons, right? That's what that means awesome, big awesome balloons. And
That's
that's
right.
what you're going to be teaching. Would you care to explain like what this class is going to be about?
Yeah, so I'm really excited too because I love I love the big A balloons. See, I always thought it was big ass.
You can say it all you want. That's what.
But so I I love the new shapes and I love incorporating the giant shapes into work, but I do feel like it could be tricky to know just how do I how do I inflate them? How long is it going to take? How do I incorporate them so that they actually look like they're worked into the piece instead of that they're
Right.
just stuck on there? How do I attach them to each other? So I'm going to be going over how to seamlessly work the larger shapes into our decor. And I'm going to be using, I'm going to be using the big circle, but that's not going to be my focus. I'm focusing on the larger spheres and the large stars. So, and
Okay.
I'm really excited for it. So,
I'm excited too. You're going to be the first non-me class that we have, I think, which is very
ooh.
exciting. Um, so I'm looking forward to it. And if all you guys have to do to be able to get the class is be a subscriber, because there will be a link on our homepage for those of you who have access to the subscription. So if there's any questions about that, you're welcome to put them in the chat. You're welcome to shoot them over my direction, and we will get you where you need to go. So I like to give time at the end for people who may have questions for you. But before
Okay, great.
that, I like to ask a slew of random, they're not random anymore, but a slew of questions if you're ready.
Sure, I'm
It's
ready. Let's go.
it's 20 questions to start with, but sometimes your answer leads off to other questions. So, favoriteest color.
Blue, but like a deep blue, not
So
not like
almost like,
teal blue.
not like what?
Not a teal blue, but like a deep blue.
Like sapphire-ish blue, or more closer to navy, midnight?
Almost like a slate blue, like
Okay,
a deep gray blue. I've just always loved
right
that
on.
color. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
Reminds me of the
favorite food.
ocean. It's like,
Reminds you of the ocean?
yeah, in the lake. Like I love being by the water and it's, I don't get to go to the Caribbean that often. So it's not the crystal blue. I see more
Sure.
of the deep blues and the slate blues, like those dark blues of the sky
Hmm.
meeting. So I love that kind of blue.
Okay. Favorite food.
Um, oh boy. I like all the food.
Okay.
There's not much food I don't like.
All right.
But I would, I don't know. I can't narrow it down. I think I told you this before we were live. I have a really hard time with ranking things in terms of favorites because
Sure.
for me, the favorite thing is like what I'm doing right now, what I'm eating right now. Like
Right.
if I'm eating something that's amazing, then that's my favorite at the moment. And then when I
Yeah.
try something new and it's amazing, I'm like, oh, I love this so much. I could
So
just,
when
yeah.
you go to restaurants, do you and maybe this is just me being weird, but when you go to restaurants, you look at the menu and decide what you want off of the whole thing? Like you can just look at the whole menu and decide that you could eat
So
just about any of it?
So, yes, I have a really wide palate and I actually love small plate restaurants and I love
Okay.
to dine with friends so my favorite people to dine with, we don't actually get meals. We get like a whole bunch of appetizers and a whole bunch of desserts and maybe like
Sure.
one or two entrees and we split everything because I like a few bites of everything. I don't like to eat a
Sure.
whole plate of anything. So
Okay.
yeah.
So for me, when I go to a restaurant, it's because I want their burger, or
Mm.
because I want the three tacos from this local Mexican restaurant. Like it's not for the type of restaurant it is. It's literally for the one thing that I know I'm going to order. So a
So
menu to me is almost irrelevant.
see, and I'm the complete opposite. Although we
Wow.
will sometimes default towards the same things. Like
Yeah.
my husband that doesn't get to actually order a meal, poor guy. He knows that he's going to have to order like two appetizers, a dessert, and we have to get two meals and we're going to share them and we're going to eat a little bit of all of it and then have food for the next 2 days.
So this is, man, I'm so curious about this answer. When you were dating him, at what point did he realize every meal this woman is eating some of my food? Like, that's not something most people do, I don't think. So,
I mean,
and that's something that sounds like you do on the regular, which is fine. There's nothing against it. But like, what was his initial reaction?
I mean, anyone who wouldn't do that didn't get a second date. Even my friends, they know. I'm like, so what do
Yeah.
you want to get? And we like I share meals with friends. I just we're like,
Yeah.
what
Okay.
do you want to split?
No, I love
Yeah,
it. It actually sounds really cool. It sounds like a good way to eat, to be honest with you. Um, unless one of your friends is sick and you don't know it, then it's bad news. Okay.
I always ask them first. I give them a warning before we go in. I'm like, what do you think about splitting? Do you want to split two things? And I'll kind
Yeah.
of guide them like towards the things that I really like because I'll be like, I love these shrimp tacos and I also love their queso and I also love, yeah. So,
Yeah.
well,
Okay. If you could live in one time period, past, present, or future, what time period would you prefer?
oh boy. Honestly, I would probably choose the present.
Uh,
10 years. I do feel like a little bit of social media has rotted some of our collective brains. But aside from that, it's I don't know. I would choose right now, but I also just try to be really present. Like I try not
sure.
to worry too much about the future. We don't know. Like obviously I plan for the future, but I don't worry about the future. Um,
Yeah.
I try to learn from the past, but we can't go back from to the past. So instead, I might take those things to try to embrace the things I liked about it and maybe bring it to what I want to do now, how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
But like for instance when I just said maybe a little bit social media, that's also things that we could just do in our own habits. Like I'll
Yeah.
go outside every morning with my dog for 20 minutes and I don't bring my phone, and it's like such a little thing, but I just drink my coffee and I just listen to the birds and watch the other animals and feel the sun on my skin and just try to be present in those moments. So because it's really all that we have, it's just a
Yeah.
constant changing of present moments. So
Fair enough. Okay. Favorite movie or type of movie? I'm fine with either one.
Um, so I don't watch many movies. So I would say though, I don't know, probably let me think. I think I like a little bit of science fiction. So, but not
Like space type science fiction?
well, I mean, I have always loved Star Wars, but just
Okay.
more I just I think that it doesn't matter what the type of movie is as long as it's a good story.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it just doesn't capture my attention. So it could be a drama, it could be a comedy, it could be anything, but it just has to leave me feeling fulfilled. Otherwise, I'll start it and I'll just walk off in 15 minutes. I'm not finishing
Sure.
it. So,
Okay. Favorite show growing up.
oh boy. So I didn't really watch much TV growing up. So that's I didn't have one. I don't know. Yeah,
Really?
I
Okay.
I'm not really a big TV person. So it's like I
Yeah.
watch TV, but I could go 6 months without turning on the TV.
All
So
right. Favoriteest book. Do you have a favorite book?
again, no, because it's always the book that I'm reading right now.
Okay.
But there are I would say that there are books that I have reread though. So and I read a lot more when I was younger. I read like a lot of the Stephen King books more than once
The
in terms of that
Gunslinger.
type of genre.
Did you read that one?
Which one?
The Gunslinger series? Did you
I
ever
did
read
read
those?
Gunslinger. Yeah, I read Gunslinger. I read like The Stand, like I think maybe 10 times by the time that I
Right.
was in high school. Um,
Okay.
I read, Under the Dome and some other books. Like, and when I was raising my kids, I did read more. Like I always tried to read what they were reading. So,
Okay.
and my kids were big readers. So there were a lot of really good, like young adult ones. So that's when I read, that's when we read Harry Potter. That's when we read, why can't I remember? What's the series that had Jennifer Lawrence in it? What's the name of it? Why can't I?
Oh, the Hunger Games,
Yeah, we read the Hunger Games. We
which are
read
great
Bond
books.
series. Like there was like all of those types of books, which again have like a little bit of supernatural, but it's more about the
Sure.
story, what's going on.
Did you ever read the Last Apprentice books? The
I did
Seventh
read The
Son?
Last Apprentice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right on.
So, and it's I liked being able to read things with them, and then we would just talk about the books together, like our own little mini book club of just
Yeah,
me and my kids.
yeah, that's cool. I would read my kids to sleep
Hmm.
every night, and it started with like a little Spider-Man book that my son couldn't read, but
Yeah,
he memorized the words as I read them to him, so he would read the pages, and
yeah,
it's like Spider-Man swings from a building. It's like one little sentence per page.
yeah.
And when we got to chapter books,
Hmm.
I realized I am spending an hour to an hour and a half reading to you guys every night, and it got to be excessive
Yeah,
because it's no longer like a little 5 or 10 minute, 15-minute read session and then go to bed. But we're reading the Last Apprentice books, and they're like 400 pages long or something.
yeah, yeah,
And I was like, guys, I can't keep doing this. It's too much. But they were also teenagers, and I feel like hopefully I've instilled in you something that you'll do for your children when they are little, and that will make me very happy.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we loved reading together, and I think but I liked more just the conversations that came from
Yeah,
reading together. So because it's like
yeah, for sure.
I always felt like it was a really good way to address things that might be happening in their lives without making it about them, because you were
Yeah,
able to talk about it in the abstract and talk about their decisions and maybe give like some guidance without them feeling like they were being lectured.
yeah, that's
So
really good. Super smart. What is your favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving, it's Christmas without the
Because you
present.
get to eat big old plates of food with a bunch of people.
And it's all different food.
Yeah. Okay. I
I'm
never
not
know how
angry
to.
about that. The
I never
common
know how
thread.
to
Yeah, I like to eat a little
phrase
bit of
this.
everything. Give me
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
What is your favorite type of balloon?
um, I mean, honestly, I think it's just like latex rounds, just because it's so versatile. Like
Okay.
you could do so many things. You could really do anything with it.
What color palette? What texture type of round?
So my favorite in terms of appearance are probably like the Calazan mirrors. I like
Okay.
them in terms of the texture, how long they last, that they don't oxidize, the best out of any of the type of mirror in
Okay.
reflex and chrome that there are. But and I just love the way that they look because they're so luxe, yet they're soft on your fingers.
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay. What is the weirdest job that you've ever had? And it
Oh,
can be balloon related or not.
so I mean, it was absolutely for a bachelorette party. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay, bachelorette party. And did that involve balloons, I assume, right?
Yeah. So it
Okay.
involves some unique sculptures that we
Sure,
had to
sure.
move.
Yeah. Um, if you could spend one day anywhere, where would you want to go?
Um, I love I love the beach, and I would just be on the beach with my family. And I don't lay, I walk. I'll walk the beach for hours and at sunrise, ideally. I'm not a morning
Okay.
person, but I love a sunrise on the beach. Like I will wake up for it every single day on vacation. It's just my favorite.
Favorite
See,
toy
I do.
growing up? You
Hmm?
do. You do.
I know I do.
Favorite toy, favorite toy growing up.
Honestly, I just drew a lot. I spent most of my
Really?
time.
You didn't
Yeah,
even play
it's
with
like
toys?
probably like colored pencils.
Okay. Yeah.
Or my balance beam that I convinced my parents to, you know, give me for Christmas and put in our living room.
Did you get in gymnastics when you were little?
I was a big gymnast. I think that's why I didn't watch much TV, because I
Okay.
honestly was in the gym every single
Did you
day.
do it in school and high school also?
I did, yeah, until I blew out my knees. So
Oh,
yeah, but that's okay. I mean, it
yeah.
happens. Then I started coaching. So it all,
Oh, right on. I
yeah,
did not know that. That's interesting.
yeah.
Okay, favorite. What did you want to be when you grew up? When you were a little kid, what were you wanting to be?
Um, So what's funny is that I never really had a job that I wanted to do when I was growing up. The only thing that I knew was like I knew that I wanted to be a mom. Like
Okay.
that was what I thought about was I was just like I would just like I never really pictured myself doing a specific job to support myself. I just knew that I wanted to have a family and that I wanted to just be surrounded by people that I loved and to show them that I loved them. That was
Okay.
that was my
Do you listen to podcasts?
um I do listen to podcasts
Do you
and they're
have a
all
favorite?
over the board.
Okay.
So I listen to motivational podcasts. I listen to some business podcasts. I listen to one or two news podcasts. It's how and I actually listen to one that's right leaning and one that's left leaning because I'm a person who likes to get a variety of sources and figure
Sure.
out for myself what I think instead of I'm not a don't
Yeah.
tell me what to think person.
Right. Okay. Favorite type of music?
Um, Probably like bluesy rock. So, and
Okay.
I'm not really into jam bands, but I love um, and I like a little bit of alternative, like, and with it, like we love the Black Keys, we love My Morning Jacket, we
Okay.
yeah, like
So
those.
kind of like a little Southern rockish too. Like I was going to ask if you've seen A Star Is Born. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, I have.
The music in that movie, I'm like, I wish he made an entire album because it's
It was
really
so
good.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Half
was so
of it's
good.
good. The other half of that album, I could just not
And,
do.
yeah, and we honestly we see like going to concerts is kind of like our activity for what we do. We go see like five or six. Honestly, we're probably that's a lie. We go see a live show. We try to see one a month. So even if it's a
Okay.
small venue, and then we go to about five or six big concerts a year. And by big concerts, I mean like I don't like a stadium like with 30,000 people. That's I could do without a huge
Right.
crowd. But like the 5,000, 3 to 5,000 person venues. So
Okay.
yeah, so we see a lot of live music.
All right. What do you have a bucket list item that you would be okay sharing?
I have a ton of bucket list items, but obviously to throw confetti in New York on New Year's Eve. So
Okay.
it's yeah, I just think it would be. I always say that that's like the difference between events people and regular people is that regular people are like, I want to be at New York City when the ball drops and have confetti thrown on me. And
Oh,
we're like,
right.
I want to throw confetti on people.
Yeah.
So,
What would be your spirit animal?
um, a bird.
A
So
bird, any particular kind, or just a bird that, like a little bird that flies around?
I don't
Regular
know.
sized
I don't
bird.
know which one. I just think it
Okay.
would be so.
Sure.
So I love birds. I love that they could fly. I just feel like it's so amazing how they fly. Like they
Yeah.
defy nature. Like they were developed to fly. It blows my
Yeah.
mind. And also they see on the UV color spectrum, which I know I could deep dive over birds all day long. So
Okay.
I'm fascinated with them.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Um, okay. So I would I always say that my superpower would be it's not really a superpower. It would be more like a spell. So
Okay.
I just want to make it so that everybody else goes in slow motion around me so that I could, just like keep doing my things at my regular rate, but have more time then to to like catch up with them.
Do you
Or just
already feel like people move slow in general? Like, are you, I feel that way all the time, but is that
I do, but I just feel like I need more hours in a day.
right?
So I feel like if I could just be so if it's like when you have an hour to install, let them move on the hour time and let us be working at
Yeah.
2 hour pace. That's just
Yeah.
that's just what I want.
Okay. These last questions are a little bit deeper. If you could rule the world and make one change that would definitely 1000% happen, what would
Mm.
you change?
Nobody would be hungry.
Okay, that would be a good one. If you knew the day that you're going to die, would you want to know it? If you could
No,
know it?
no.
No. Why?
I feel like we need to live every day like it's our last.
Okay,
We don't know. It's just, and I think that's what makes life precious, is we
sure.
don't know.
All right, last question. What is if the sorting hat was put on your head, what would it say?
Yeah, I would be a Ravenclaw, which
Okay,
according to all the quizzes that I took, but they all say Ravenclaw, so I'm a Ravenclaw apparently.
all right. Okay, so that concludes the fun question time. So if any of you guys who are on the call has any questions for Miss Alyssa, now would be the time. And I would say if you would just unmute yourself. The way I like to do any questions like this is I want you to say something that you're grateful for, and then say my question is, and then ask it. That way we start with gratitude, then you're welcome to ask question, and then go from there. I feel like I should start with these questions because now I have so many more.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I just mean in general, like I could go off on rabbit trails on
I'm
some of
all
those things.
yeah, I'm
So
always deep dive. I tend to make a short answer long.
no, and I'm the same way. Um, so we'll give it another couple minutes, but if nobody has questions, a lot of times they don't because I ask a lot of questions, I think. So
But
maybe either they've
I
already
think
been
it was
answered.
Crystal's number. Was it Crystal? She said she's a Ravenclaw too. I need to pop and see who's actually in here. I just thought it was a 347. I think it was.
Yeah. So you just when you read to your kids, was it just any willy-nilly time of the day or like after school?
So, okay. So one of the things is that one of the formative experiences for me is that when I went through my divorce, it was a really bad marriage and it was an abusive marriage.
Okay.
And I pretty much fled with nothing. Like I didn't even know how I was going to support myself. Like we didn't even have cable in the house. I slept on an air mattress for a year. I just needed to be out. And we didn't even have a TV. It's like, so we read and we drew and we played games. And it's
Sure.
one of those weird things because at the time, it's like you feel like, oh, I don't have these things to offer. But now when I look back, it was actually so amazing because
Yeah.
we literally would just sit there and read for like 4 or 5 hours on a day and just be curled up together. And we would, we did have like we had like a 15-inch TV that had a VHS player in it that had a couple movie things, and we would just watch those on a black and white TV
Right.
because I got it at like the Goodwill, and at the time it was all that I could afford to get. And I think that it just so it's like so we loved to read, we loved to create, we loved to just be there and to do those things together. And so yeah, we read all of the time. And it's so funny because I feel like even though it was such a hard time of my life, it was so much easier than actually being in the other position that I was in, like where
Yeah.
even my physical needs were met. It was just like so toxic that
Yeah.
you still never even that being in a place where we were able to have just like our emotional needs met, even though it seemed like that for me is why I know I'm gonna go real deep. Sorry, folks.
No,
But
you're fine. I wish I would have had this conversation before the dumb questions.
no, that's okay. Like when I answered what would I solve, I would solve hunger. We were sometimes hungry. And it's just like I couldn't always afford to feed my kids and feed myself. And so like my cause that I give to is like helping with somebody where kids are on free lunch program and I'll raise money for them all day, every day, because what they do is this buddy bag program where they provide meals to kids for over the weekend and over the summer. So they get at least one meal a day. And my kids were always fed. I was not always fed, which is crazy to even think about. But just, I was at the time, like I could have been, but for me, it was my pride. Like I didn't tell people. If I would have told my parents, do you think I would have been hungry? No. But there was no way that I was going to tell people because, I just felt like, oh, well, you need to just still present yourself to the world a certain way. And no matter how bad things are, like fake it till you make it and keep going. And, and I did get through it and I had a lot of drive, which I think is the other reason that I was able to be successful. Like I was successful at real estate. I was successful at this because I had no plan B. Like I just needed to make it work because if it wasn't working, then I was hungry. And that's all it came down to. But so those are the things where both I try to I do work with the women's shelter in our area where I coach some of them through it because as I got later in life, I realized how important it was to talk about it and to be visible because people need to see someone who actually made it through to the other side and have that hope that then they could make it too, because there were times that I was really, really hopeless. And also for just like food, because it's like everybody needs to eat. And that's just all that it comes down to for me is so, but yeah, like how about that based on a book? But yeah, so we read all the time because that's all that we could afford to do.
Do your kids, I know, I mean, obviously this isn't the kind of thing you just sit around talking, but have your kids, since they've been older, like circled back to this growing up, like, because they probably had no clue, like
they
none.
do.
And
So it was interesting because they, even though as much of it, like, my kids had a bedroom set, I was on an air mattress, but I tried to make things as good for them, but there was a lot of
right.
disparity between the two houses. And so they were able
Okay.
to see that. And my ex-husband, he wasn't great at paying child support. And the system isn't set up to be able to recuperate that without having court costs, which then you can't afford to go to court so that then you get it. So it's just like it ends up being a cycle. But so they were able to know because there was some disparity there.
Sure.
But the thing is I feel like we were still the healthier home.
Right,
So
for sure.
they did have more of those troubles just because, but you try to keep it from them. And again, it comes back to that pride. Then it wasn't just like pride, like, obviously I wasn't, telling people. They'd be like, oh my goodness, you've lost so much weight, you look great. And it's like, yeah, I've eaten an apple in the last 48 hours and that's it. So
Yeah.
but that's why all the food all the time for me now, right?
Yeah. Hey.
But it just, yeah, so they knew, and actually they do sometimes talk about it and they're like, we're glad because they have a different perspective than some of their friends in terms of just the things that they appreciate because they know, like, and they're old enough now to sometimes pick up on things that they might not have picked up then, but then they have a core memory that comes up and they're like, oh.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Where, kids in general don't know things like they're going to know them when they're out on their own, having to take care of themselves. And then they're like, oh man, mom did a lot for us. We had no idea. Like, or, the weight of all of that. I don't know. Well, I thank you for sharing all that, first of all. And for what it's worth, I'm super glad that you got out of that situation because I know a lot of people don't. And that makes me sad for them.
It's really hard to get out. Like sometimes getting out is even harder. I luckily was in a situation where I wasn't raised that way. So I had a different sense of knowing, like some people are raised that way. So they don't realize that this isn't the way that it's supposed to be. So they end up getting stuck in the cycle. So whereas I was able to break the cycle because of that. And I'm transparent because I just think that it's important because you never know who's listening and
Right.
who might need to hear the message that you're telling them.
Yeah. Okay, well, I respect you and your time. So, it doesn't look like we had any questions, but again, thank you so much for sharing, especially the stuff at the end. And I am excited to know you, and I'm excited to be able to be a part of your, to be able to see what's going on in your life and in your business. And I'm excited for this class that we have coming up in a week.
Yeah, it's
So thank
great.
you so much.
You're
All
welcome. Thank you
righty.
for having me on, and I'm so happy to be a part of the Balloon Guild. And oh, you're welcome. And yeah, it's just I think that you're doing a great thing. So I
Okay.
love it, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, you have a good one, and take care, everybody.
okay, thanks. Thanks for chiming in, everyone.